At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Dean Billingsly.
Yay! Thank you. I guess I'll start with where I started with music was on a clarinet for 7 years, and that didn't really work out as good as the guitar did for me. When I was in sophomore year in high school, I went to Sears and realized I could play Peter Gunn on the bass string of a guitar, and that sort of set me off on a mission that I'm still on. Early days in Springfield, when I started playing, it was around 1962. I'd played with John Frischkorn for about 6 months, and he would take me to these bars that were on Saturdays, Ike Martin's music store downtown, and there were several bars in that neighborhood around Campbell, McDaniel, Walnut, different streets down there, and they all had jam sessions every Saturday. And we were 15, 16, but they'd let us in because we were guitar players. That's any of you guitar players in here, that's before they had light gauge strings, and so these old guys would show us how to take your strings and scoot them over one string, so you're really using a E string for a B and a B for a G and on, which gave us a way to bend those strings, and we're still trying to bend them. I've got a little list here. I'm going to go with it. John Frischkorn and I were playing, and we thought we needed to expand our horizons, and one of us, I don't know which one, knew the name Tim Burles and thought he had a guitar. And as it turned out, we called him to see if he'd come play with us, and he said sure. And so he came over to my mom's house, and we started another mission, I guess, there that we're still on. Anyway, Tim was pretty good. He could play Walk Don't Run on the 2 big strings of a guitar. He had a Fender Duosonic and a little Fender amp. I don't remember what kind. And it sounded like what the Fender guitars and amps are supposed to sound like. And so Tim came over and really impressed us with 2 strings and 3 or 4 frets worth of going down the guitar neck. And we've been working at it ever since. I've almost got him straightened out. We've got him on a 3rd string. How many in here are musicians? I'm just curious. 2 or 3? Yeah, are there any sound people or engineers, recorder people? Yeah, I'm one. Okay, and everybody else is just my buddies? Huh?
You played a trumpet in high school, does that count?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're a musician now. Okay, get them out. Mike Bride gave me my first guitar lesson, and I think it cost $1.50 and really aggravated me. He taught me to play Walk Don't Run, or not Walk Don't Run. He taught me to play What'd I Say, the Ray Charles What'd I Say lick. And I thought for my $1.50, I'd really come out of there just burning a guitar up, not just playing that one lick. But then in the next, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years, we probably used that lick a couple of times to play What'd I Say maybe 10 million times or so. And somewhere along the way, evidently it paid my $1.50 back, I guess. Lines music was a big influence on me. I taught guitar there. I went to hang out there on Saturdays. We'd hang out at all the music stores on Saturdays because that's what you did, how you learned something or met somebody or whatever. And lines music, they used to let some of us go to the NAMM show in Chicago. And so when I was early on, probably 16, 17, I'd get to go to Chicago for the music show and get to see all kind of new stuff. Well, one time I went in there, being a guitar player, the Ventures were always kind of heroes. One time I was at the NAMM show, walked in a little stupid hotel room. Well, what's in here? It was the Ventures sitting there, just playing Walk Don't Run. And so I was a pretty happy camper at that deal. Lines was always really good. Buddy and Bill Lines and Mort and Lawrence, their fathers. Sometime along in there around 1966, I got drafted and I went away for a couple of years. Got to be a Army guy, and while I was in the Army, I was stationed in El Paso. I had the opportunity to go play a lot at the service club. Then the service club gave us a bus and all the equipment we wanted, and they would send us out in the desert to other base camps to where guys were training, getting ready to go to Vietnam, and we'd go entertain them in Quonset huts and stuff. We'd sing My Girl and Hold On, I'm Coming and stuff like that, I guess. And still do. I think it was right after, no, it was right before I got drafted that I was with Wayne Carson. We had played all-American hootenanny shows all over the place, and that was a lot of fun, real good experience, and I always played bass for him. Hi. And I never understood why, I still don't, and I guess I ought to ask him sometime, why'd you let me play bass? Because I didn't know anything other than a root note on whatever key we were in. Had no idea how to play bass, and still don't a whole lot. Anyway. After the military, I came back to Springfield for a while and stayed a few months, and then I went to join one of my Army buddies in Detroit. There was a band called Magic, Nick King, and we played a place in Detroit called Arthur. It was owned by Sybil Burton, that was Richard Burton's wife, and she had a chain of nightclubs. We played at that one for 3 or 4 months, and we had a manager that seemed like we had a lot of suits and a house in East Lansing and a house in Detroit. We had a van, we had a PA system, and we had a lot of jackets and some scarves and ascots and stuff we'd wear, but we didn't have any money. And the manager decided where the money went, so after 3 months of playing this thing that really paid our band good, I don't know if we got $5,000 a week or what, but it was good. I saw $700 at the end of 3 months. And so I decided maybe it was a good time to go call my other Army buddy, Walt Bailey, and he came down from Baltimore and said, why don't you get out of here and come to Baltimore? And so I did. And we went there, we played for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, and failed pretty miserable on making a living at it. So I had to brainstorm, hey, you guys, why don't you come back to Springfield? And maybe we can get jobs there. Well, we came back to Springfield, and there wasn't any more work here than there was in Baltimore. And there was Bebop Brown's Club that Kirk Hargis had and was, I guess, open weekends or a vacant building or something, but we kind of got in there and lived or whatever, I guess, for a while. Seems like we called it the Odyssey Blues Parlor, and maybe some of you were there when we played. I don't know. I think I was.
North of town?
It was out 65 Highway, yeah. north, and it was probably 5 or 7 miles. It wasn't just a couple of miles. It was a good, I don't know if that building's still there or not.
No, the sign's still there, except there's nothing on the sign, just the framework.
Going north, it was on the left side of the road.
Yeah, that's right.
I know when Bebop had it, they had chicken livers and they were cooking stuff out back, and boy, it was quite the place to go to and have fun as young musicians. It was pretty happening little joint. Somewhere in there, I had met Pat Shikani, and I think it was probably when I'd moved back from San Francisco. I'd run across Pat and realized he had a little home recording studio, and so Pat Bowie and I went over there to try to record something, and it didn't work out. Pat was kind of a stickler at the time for what kind of tape you put on his tape machine, and I'd brought a reel of tape not knowing that there was any different tape other than a roll of tape. And he said, "This won't work." And I said, "Why? It's tape." And he said, "No, it's got to be a certain kind." And he had his machine biased for something that when we put my tape on it, it just went. So anyway, but Pat sort of mentored me through the years, especially early years recording, and gave me some good foundations of not using your sound stuff to play dirty tricks on people, which sometimes you kind of want to if you work with them a lot. And he had really instilled in me not to do that, so I don't do that. Like put you out of tune or turn you around backwards or whatever. And I wouldn't want it done to me, which people probably would do. I had a spell in the, let's see, I'm leaving out San Francisco. Okay. So after the Baltimore band didn't do so good in Springfield, we had a lot of fun, but we couldn't afford to live. Those guys left. I went to San Francisco and stayed there for 3 years, and Tim Burles came out there. A lot of people, some of you people in this room came and had a lot of fun with us. We went to the Fillmore just about every weekend, and it was sort of like like going to school, because every weekend you would see 3, 4, 5, 6 bands that were people you wanted to see, and people that were just starting, Little Feat and Steve Miller and anybody you want to name, Santana, whatever, were just coming up in that scene, and we really were lucky and blessed to have the opportunity to go. All we wanted, and we got pretty heavy indoctrination, I guess you'd say, in the San Francisco music, and we're still kind of trying that approach.
What was the average ticket price?
Tickets were like $2.50, $3. What's a ticket cost for Steve Miller today?
10 times.
80 or I don't know. Anyway, we played, Tim and I played all of the clubs on Broadway Street, in which were girly bars. We were the off-night band in San Francisco, and you would play 2 nights at this one and go next door, play 2 nights, take your stuff next door, play 2 nights, and go here. Well, there were eight nights of stuff. As an off-night band, you could work more back then. This was like 69, 70, 71. You could work more as an off-night than you could if you had the main 5-night job at the place. So we did that for a while, in private gigs and weddings and just bars and what have you. Anyway, finally ended up getting a Roadway Inn, I believe it was, or Ramada or something in Birmingham, Alabama. And we booked it from San Francisco. Well, we came back for a 2-week visit and hung out a little bit, went down to Birmingham and played for 3 weeks and came back. And the intention was just to have a short visit and go back to San Francisco, but I've been here ever since. So in the mid-'70s, I got hooked up with the Garbanzo Band, and I'm getting ready to re-hook up with them a little bit because they're just too fun not to. And I played with them for a while, played with Willie Stone in a band called the Bicentennial Blues Band and in '76. And losing my brain for a minute. It'll come back. Anyway, now I am lost.
Read your notes.
Yeah, I forgot where I was.
You were here.
Oh yeah, okay.
San Francisco, then back here.
Okay, so we played with the Garbanzos and went on from there. I was doing assistant engineer work with Pat Ciccone, and he had a Ballknobber album he was going to do and a Silver Dollar City album that we were to record. It was written by the Smothers Brothers writing team, and they had written an album for the city called Sounds of the City. And so Pat and I went down and recorded the trains and recorded the little goats at the petting pen and the ever band that they had running around the streets of the city, and did that in the daytimes. And at night we'd go over to the Ballknobbers that weekend and record their new live album. Well, the Ballknobbers nobody in Branson had sound people at that time, and so they asked Pat, said, do you want to be our sound guy? And he took the job. He was busier at the studio than he was at the Ballknobbers, so he needed an assistant, and that's me. Okay, 3 years later, that turned into Pat couldn't make it on the road shows for 3 months, and at the 3-month point, they called me on the bus and said, do you want this job? Pat hadn't shown up in 3 months. And I said, yeah, I'll take it. Well, that'll bring us on up to now, which is 34 years later. And I had a good run with the Ballknobbers. I don't know that I would do it again. But I don't know what else I'd do if I didn't. So anyway, they were good to me. Now, where I'm at on the music nowadays is the last, I don't know, for the last 30 years or so, we've had periodic jams, but now they're a lot more frequent. In the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, Tim and I have played quite a bit with Lloyd and whoever else we can talk into playing with us. And we've got a band called Womb to Tomb, and it is basically it's me and Lloyd and Tim, and then Dave Milligan plays bass, Steve Smith sometimes on keyboards, and Will Henderson on congas and percussion. And we're just working for having fun. We're probably not going to be the next Beatles. We're probably not going to make just a ton of money in this music business, but man, it's a blast. And it's in us, and we can't shake it, so we might as well play together and record and have fun, and that's mainly our goal. We would take a gig if any of you have a lot of money, but it's hard on us when we do because we have to learn a couple more songs, and we really like playing music which is unplayed until we play it, and that's one way to say it. And we like playing our original songs. And then sometimes we can dip back 40 or 50 years and pull up some of those songs, and they're fun too, and they're kind of ingrained in us. So anyway, I don't know what else.
Route 2.
Route 2 was a house I had east of Springfield. It was 3 miles east of 65 bypass. I lived there 12 years. Steve Kennedy lived there before I did. We were jamming out there at his house. It was a lot of fun. He was moving. I needed a place to live, and we jammed there for another 12 years, with a little more intensity. And it had a studio, Leapin' Lizard Studio. It was a 4-channel TX studio, and we recorded a lot of stuff.
My first record.
More than I remember, yeah. We recorded Chris's at 40 Acres, and what's on the other side of it? Long Tall Texan. Yeah. So, you ever get a copy of that? Listen to it. I had a radio show for a while. I did 26 episodes of a local radio show for KRFG, and it was all, I did it for free, and I don't know why I did it, but it was all original local area people, and if I didn't have something that somebody out of Rogersville had recorded at my place, or if I needed another song or something, I'd just make something up or put one of me and Lloyd on, or something we had handy, or shake some change in your hand and talk to them a minute. And that was my version of a radio show in the 70s. But I'd come out of San Francisco and thought I could do that a little bit here, and it might open the doors a little bit, but I couldn't get the knob to turn.
What's the name of your first band?
First band would be the Surf Boys. That was me and Tim and Mike Buff. And if we got extra $5, we'd get John Frischkorn and put him in on bass. We had a cardboard surfboard that we cut out and made, and we could stand on that and play surf music, and you could pay us $15 and we'd show up with 3-piece band. So anybody having a party, let us know. We're looking for work. I didn't get there yet. Then there was a band called DB and the Shades. I was the DB part, and the Shades were the Shades. That was Larry Lee and Hugh Walpole. And we played for a couple of years, 64, 5, 6-ish, I think. And give or take a few. Pat and I played, I don't know, 4 or 5 years together, 4 years together or so.
Pat Bowie.
Yeah, Pat Bowie. And
What happened to her? She's big in Japan.
she was big in Japan, and then she was big back here. Yeah, and then she lost it and came back. I don't really know. She's somewhere, I'm sure. I'm in touch with her sister and a couple of people that know her, but I don't know where she's ended up. I don't know if anybody got any questions, or I don't know.
Good question. You don't have it?
New instrument on it.
Mhm.
Kind of beam of wood, call it the cosmic beam.
Mhm.
The old church day.
Mm-hmm.
They were stringing piano wire on it, our guy's ear.
Yeah.
I was trying, one Sunday, I don't know what year in the 60s it was, but we were, I don't know what year, we worked together, but we were up at this place, crossing the mall, this guy that had some song, Sugar Shack or something, crap, and you were playing. You know what that was?
Boy.
He had some other stuff.
That'd be Keith McCormick, so that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Any good?
I remember Sugar Shack.
Was it an outdoor deal?
Was it?
Shake was over here. Cedar Shake.
Cedar.
I don't know.
Was it your band that played at the airport for the CEO?
Yeah, Tim and I played for supermarket opening.
That's what I remember.
Yeah, it was Shoppers Fair, and they took us. It was 2 guitars and drums, and we went out to the airport. We sat up, and this bigwig flew in his DC-10 or whatever it was back then, and walked by us while we're playing. Got in his car. They were driving him to Shoppers Fair. Is that the name of it? And they were driving him there, but they had to get us packed up and there before he got there. And so we scrambled and threw our stuff in. They get us there. We set it up, and we're playing, and they get him open his car door, and he walks out. Walk in and look at his new store. I don't know that he realized they had a band, but we were there for him.
It's the same band. They
He
both
told
played.
the guy who's lieutenant, says, pay the boys. And they paid us $20 a piece.
Yeah, pay the boys. We were happy anyway. We turned professional by then, of course. And I don't know. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for asking me, and
Do you ever?
I hope it's interesting to somebody. I don't know. It's just what I've been doing.
Do you ever leave the country?
Do I ever leave the country?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, in January.
I like to leave the country. I like to come back too, but I like to leave. Yeah, you know, in the last 25 years, I've actually played a lot more in Mexico, resort towns, than I've played in my living room or anywhere up here, especially in public. And I've gone, I guess, I figured up one time I've got like 3 or 4 years in Mexico, 2 weeks to a month at a time.
Okay.
And I'm going, man, you know, why don't you just go down there and sit? But anyway, I've got a lot of good musician friends in Cabo San Lucas and Isla Mujeres.
Just
And
released an album, didn't you?
I've got one coming up. You know, I've got three CDs on iTunes and all the stores like that, and some little videos and stuff on YouTube if you want to go punch them in, look at them or something. And we're trying to work on a new CD for Tim. I've got one that is just almost finished, but I can't get motivated to finish it. I don't have to play, I just got to put it together. And I'm just too lazy right now to do it, but it's ready to go. And we'd like to get a Womb to Tomb CD up and running just for the sake of doing it. I don't know that our CD's ever going to sell even 50 copies, but we sure like making them and getting to hold up and say, this is my CD, stuff like that. Be cool on your own dime.
So you practice.
That's my philosophy. You do your own stuff to get cool instead of sing the song off the radio to get cool.
You're practicing for the
your own
ice
dime.
cream festival next year.
Yeah,
We're negotiating.
we're in negotiations for Bob's Ice Cream Social.
I've got 200 or 300 of my closest friends that want to know when you're going to play again in town,
We're-
not in the summer.
We're trying.
Okay.
We're trying. Anyway, thank you, I guess, huh?
Thank you, Dean.
I guess that's it.
Next month.
Check us on Facebook. We're outgrowing this place. We surely like Matt and the dugout, but we know it's going to get bigger. Our next month is going to be February 2nd. That's Groundhog Day, and we happen to have a little band called Garbanzos that's going to be the presenter.